Y'all can get on Apple. I think you don't have access. You can try it. There is one site, but it takes you to different apps.
I know, and I'm scared of viruses.
Yeah. Huh?
Dr. Srijaya. Dr. Srijaya.
Yes, Dr. Don.
Can you just tell me if I can start? Huh?
Yeah, you can start. think so.
I can start
Can start.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please record the section. Yeah. That's
I
all.
think it's recording.
Yeah. Already. Yeah. Yes.
Is
It's
it?
recording. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Recording.
That's
Yes.
the most
Yeah.
important thing. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. May I hear from our audience this afternoon? Is everybody feeling festive, in the mood to listen to me for 20 minutes or so?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, this has been a long overdue, as I call it, presentation. It's been scheduled before as a face-to-face to make it more interactive. However, for some reason or unknown reason, students didn't show up. So we tried to deliver it online so that we can record and make the recording available to the students who cannot join us today. For those of you students who are with us who don't know me yet, my name is Dr. Don, and I am a new member of the HSEM faculty. And today I am going to share you my experience, my knowledge on how to write a literature review. Yes, literature. Before we discuss the definition, literature review, speaking through experience, is one of the most demanding parts of the whole research writing process. It is demanding in the sense that if we are talking about 100% of your final year for project, this this would cover a good 30% of all the work. In fact, a lot of students that I have supervised and a lot of studies that I have seen cannot take off without actually doing good in their literature review, in the exploration of the available or existing literature in the subject or topic that they are investigating. So, however, there's also a sad fact that many researchers don't pay attention so much on literature review. I don't know why, but I think they didn't realize the importance of literature review in terms of adding value to their research work. Um, Successful research publications are actually founded upon a successful literature review, because according to the definition, it is a survey of available scholarly resources or sources that you can consult, you can refer to in order to establish the direction of your study. And the literature review is a process which includes finding or looking for the right literature or piece of literature. And then once you found it, you get to analyze large information. You break those information into um, pieces of supporting details or main ideas. And once you have the information, you got to review and decide if whether or not this piece of literature is going to add value to your study. So again, it's the process which includes finding, analyzing, and reviewing. Why should we pay attention to literature review, especially for students or for you students who you're going to engage into an academic work for the first time? So the literature review will help you to understand your research. Pieces of literature written by authors before you could actually be useful in supporting or enhancing your idea towards the specific problem that you are going to investigate. And without those information or without those knowledge you have for your research problem, you are not able or you will not be able to write the actual research paper. As they say, the 10,000 words are very difficult to produce if you imagine yourself to produce it without actually consulting the literature. And then you do the literature review in order to find out if your study is standing unique against the other studies around you, or would just be your study just a duplication of someone else's. So by doing literature review, you come to realize if whether or not you're merely copying other people's research before you. And also, to do a literature review is to find gaps. Once you have set your mind on a specific problem, then you need to see what else have not discovered, have not been covered by others, and so that I can cover it in my own study. So the beauty of literature review is to understand what has been done already. So yeah, you avoid that, or what has been done but have not been covered. So you can incorporate it to make your study have a fresh inclusion, a fresh integration of variables, of scope, and perhaps um, additional problems or hypotheses. What are your bases in looking for the right literature for your study? The primary basis is, of course, relevance. Okay, don't waste your time. Time is the only thing that you don't have a luxury while you are completing your year 4 project or you're doing your research. So since time is limited, look for related literature only. Related literature based on research questions or based on objectives. For instance, the research question goes, what are the impacts of gasoline fumes inhalation on the health of petrol station workers? So this is a research question where you can instantly identify the keywords. So there, for your literature review, you may consider gasoline fumes inhalation, um, um, petrol station workers, or petrol station and then workers, and then impacts on the health of petrol station workers. So the research question is one of the best aspects of your research to base your literature search from. The next is the objectives. And speaking of objectives, this is actually where you should be focusing so much, because some of the objectives might need only literature review. You don't need a questionnaire to answer or to achieve that objective. For instance, to determine the impacts of gasoline fumes inhalation on the health of petrol station workers. So obviously, this kind of objective does not require further data. It's just for you to determine or identify the impacts. And the literature review can actually suffice all the other data collection techniques. So just merely with this type of objective, you can already achieve this objective by determining and identifying through those literature that of previous studies, journal articles, organizational websites. The second type of objective that may need or may not need um, literature review is this: to analyze the level of impacts of gasoline fumes inhalation among petrol station workers. So in this one, you need primary data because what is there to analyze is primary data. And you can have a survey or experiment to collect the primary data. So in other words, with this type of objective, literature review is not there to achieve it, but you have to do primary data collection. The next type of objective is to formulate recommendations to minimize gasoline fumes inhalation by petrol station workers. So here, you need a review, and based on your review, you will get findings, and you need results from your experiment or from your survey. And if you collate them together, you can use them as basis for formulating those recommendations. So you see, from objective one down to the last objective, you need literature review. So how could you not afford to actually spend more time and effort to do literature review when they these objectives that you have are achievable by doing the literature review? How to structure a literature review is just like structuring an essay. So this section of your research, you can have an introduction, which is a small paragraph telling what you have seen, what you have found. Okay. How many studies? You can also mention that what type of literature you've found. Would they be local literature or uh, foreign related literature? And then once you started the literature body where you will write your review, you can have subheadings according to how you want to present. Also in the review body, you can incorporate theoretical framework. You can add a theoretical framework here. And then, of course, the last, after you have done the literature, in here, if you are to submit, for instance, a 10,000 word year for projects, so we say 30% of that, around 3,000, okay? 30%, around 3,000 should actually consist your review. And then the conclusion is that you will tell the reader what you have discovered, what significant findings did you arrive at, and then state how this literature add value to your study. And what way would it be um, you came to learn that you can actually use an observation, you can use a survey, you can use an interview for the methodology, and you can have this population, and you can use this type of sampling technique. Okay, all of this you you actually mentioned that through the literature review, your study has set the methodology uh, or have a basis for setting the methodology. Okay. When it comes to the grammar, the language of your review, there are only two tenses that you could possibly use in your literature review. Never ever future tense. Okay. The literature review could be present tense if you're referring to the author, as in this example, Smith 2020 states that. Okay, so you are referring to Smith. But if you are referring to the result or finding that has done from the study of Smith, then you use past tense, and that becomes Smith 2020 found that All right. Differentiation, because you cannot repeat the same author, when you want to refer to that author. You have already, for example, cited that author in the previous sentence. So you cannot cite twice, in the succeeding sentences. So if you refer to your study, you will say this study. That means you. If you refer to that author, you say that study. You can also say the present study or the current study. That means you again. And the previous study, referring to the literature. Sorry. Okay, here. Avoiding personal pronouns. This is a technical piece of writing and very academic. So personal pronouns are prohibited because they tend to show subjectivity, and as much as possible be objective in your expressions. So instead of saying I, for instance, you say I believe modern technology should not replace. Just don't use it at all. You just say modern technology should not replace traditional face-to-face classroom teaching. As simple as that. Correct. Okay, here. Here are some of the many ways to avoid using the personal pronoun I. Instead of saying I think, that means you are referring to yourself. You just say the author suggests that, or instead of saying I feel, you could say the results indicated that, or the findings showed that. By the way, results and findings, when to use the term results. Here, results if your study is quantitative, and findings if your study is qualitative. As in the case of literature review, it's mostly findings because you are not doing collecting primary data and you report it. No, that's been done already, and what you are reporting now is a piece of literature. Again, I believe, considering the results or findings, I am convinced that according to the figures, I am sure that, or it is evident that, it is my belief that the research found that. Okay, so let us examine these two examples. Why the first example here is considered as inappropriate direct reference to the writer's opinions, feelings, or thoughts because of the pronouns I, my, I again. Okay, as opposed to a better, more academic approach, instead of saying, from my understanding of the article, you will say, according to the article. Instead of saying, I feel that the national government, you would say, it seems that the national government's role is, and my research will formulate, you say, this research will formulate. Okay. What are the things that you could learn actually from the pieces of literature? So look for the literature in order to learn. In that literature, what were the results, the findings? Is there something there that you can pick up that you can actually contemplate and reflect upon? And then what research approach that literature has used? When you say approach there, you say quantitative, qualitative, and then what research design? Will it be descriptive, experimental, okay? Or qualitative, that would be observation, case study, phenomenology. What data collection techniques did the writer or the researcher use? questionnaire survey or an interview schedule. Population. So who actually were the subjects of the study and what sampling technique did he use? Is it probability or non-probability sampling techniques? And there are too many. Theory. Okay, what theory that that you can actually adapt as also to align your study into, or you can get your study founded on that theory that the same author has used. What variables did that previous study have in her in the paper? So all of these are your targets when you are looking for literature to review. And you can learn from those pieces of literature. So reviewing the literature, okay, specific particularly result, all right? This is a typical student's work here. Okay, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, they cite. Okay, as opposed to this one. See the difference? In here, many adverse health effects of gasoline are due to the chemicals in gasoline, mainly BTEX. I am reading this from the author's point of view. I am not seeing a student here or the researcher here. That means you. Nothing here that can tell me that actually it's the students retelling what Ronner is saying or has said. Compared to this one, many adverse effects. The literature review should say the result of the study of Ronner indicated that, see there, see the difference already? And then you say here, breathing small amounts of gasoline vapors, this is Ronner saying. But when you review, you will say the author also notes that, referring again to Ronner. So this is why it's important that from the beginning, whenever there is already a huge claim or you're already presenting facts, immediately cite. Don't wait for the end of the paragraph. And then if you are continuously referring to the same author, you can just, in addition, moreover, okay? And the most important thing here is that what can you say now about this written text? That study concluded that, and then the most important thing here is that you are able to connect your study to that piece of literature. These results will be used in addressing the objectives of the present study. Okay, so that in other words, you understand why you pick this literature in the first place. It's because you're able to use the information here to address the objectives or to add or to address the hypothesis, the research questions. All right. So if this is a piece of writing or a piece or a paragraph from literature, okay, what do you think should come here in number one? I mark number one from the choices on the right. Any volunteer? Are you with me?
It's there.
Okay.
Yes, yes, doctor, we are
Okay,
here.
what do you think will come here? What should be number one? So we put there, okay? So obviously, Smith, right? 2020, the author, and end citation. And then number two, look at the use of comma or its series, include involvement, continued monitoring, comma. When you do this, what are you actually doing? You're giving examples. So you will say there, for instance, okay? And number 3, health safety programs require that you can say the author notes, okay? Because there's already a long interval between the citation. So you can say the author notes that, okay, number 4, it is aimed at, so you can say, in other words, now it's your explanation. And number 5, it was found that, okay. And then the last 6 could be hence or thus. All right. So simple they may seem to be, but they make a huge difference in the way you are writing your review. And this is what I was always telling my students in PPD, that the student's voice is so important in making the difference between the author's point of view and the writer's point of view. All right. So in your paper, you can have 2 sections of references. One is list of references, and the other is bibliography. The difference is that all in the list of references, all the authors that you have cited in your paper must be listed here. Okay. While in the bibliography, you don't have to include the cited authors, but instead you can put here the references that you have read, that you have found, who have increased your knowledge, who have contributed to your understanding, but they were not cited. Okay, I have here examples on how to cite. So there are 3 methods. And there's actually another one, which is direct citation. First is beginning, as in this example, Johnson with one author defines, Miller and Tyler, 2018 note, Clinton, Roosevelt, and Bush, 2017 mention. So look at the difference, huh? Beginning, ending, explaining. According to Johnson, 2022, so if this is the ending, in the explaining, it goes like this, as Miller and Tyler put it. Okay. And in this one, in the words of Clinton, Roosevelt, and Bush, 2017. So there are many ways, not just one way, but many, many ways. So you have to uh, actually be creative in your manner of citing. All right. This slide is showing you an example of a journal article where there's this primary source. Okay, you found this journal, for instance, from the internet, and then to cite this, then you have to write Valida. There are 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 authors. So in this case, more than 3 authors, we drop the second, the third, and the fourth author, and we substitute them with it al. We only keep the first author, last name, and the rest it al. So Balida et al. 2022 mentioned that okay, in their work, for example, in this article, and you want to cite this here, for example, according to King 2012, all right? So this is the secondary source, the primary source there, and the secondary source or author. So this is how you write. First mention the secondary. King 2012 mentioned in there. Balida et al. 2022 notes that, okay, this is for beginning and this is for ending. King 2022 cited in Balida et al. Okay, now, since you only referred to this primary source, there is no need for you to write in the reference list the secondary source because anyway, you didn't know that author before. It was only this article who noted the secondary source. Okay, a big no for writing is unknown and no date. Okay, it's very common. I've seen here this is a common mistake by students in this college. Unknown, 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 unknown. You'll be flooded with unknown from the in-text citation down to the list of references. And the worst is if already unknown and at the same time no date. First of all, avoid, I noted here, for the sake of integrity. Why would you, for example, trust a piece of article that is not even without an author, that you don't even know who wrote it? So just avoid it, just like how to avoid I in your writing. Just simply avoid it. Where to find the good pieces of literature? ResearchGate and Google Scholar. Okay. The good thing about these two, they are free and actually you can download the articles. If the for example the text is not available through ResearchGate, you can write an email or you can chat with the author and request for the manuscript. It's free. Use them. Google Scholar is the good thing about it is that it's the search engine as a Google. It can give you a general group of literature. But if you go to Google Scholar, it's automatic. You can type even the title, the keyword, the phrase, and it will offer you a selection of already academic pieces of articles like journal articles and even university websites. List of references. Actually, in Harvard style, we call it list of references because when you say references, it's general. It could mean this list or the in-text citation. So I always tell my students, Harvard style says list of references. And we list the references according to alphabetical order, A, B, C, D, like that. And some mistakes that have to be avoided is to bullet the list of references. Harvard style don't use bullets or numbers. For instance, if you use number or numbers, that is not Harvard style. It's called Vancouver style. Just alphabetical order. And that's all for me, unless you guys have any question. Anyone?
Thank you, Don. Not from my end, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Don. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
You're
Don. Very
welcome.
informative session. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you, Doctor.
You're welcome. Have a nice day, everybody.
You too.
Only staff attended.
Thank you, Dr. Don.